What's up, guys? So I was on X today, or Twitter, or X, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and I saw Austin Rivers and what he said on the Pat McAfee show. And I wanted to make this reaction because I completely disagree with what he said. But in case you missed it, this is what Austin Rivers said today. He said, I can take 30 players right now in the NBA and throw them in the NFL. You cannot take 30 NFL players and put them in the NBA. Well, JJ Watt responded to this and said, you don't got a job in either right now, so go ahead and try it. So I kind of agree with JJ Watt here, but let me just talk about why I think Austin Rivers is thinking about, what he said and why that's factual to him, but it's just completely off. It couldn't be further from the truth. So, one, he's probably thinking that some attributes in the NBA that make NBA players great translate well to the NFL. And I think that's partially true. I think he makes a case where if you want to talk about an agility, vertical leap, overall endurance, explosive, off the ball type movement, those are abilities that wide receiver and defensive backs, they need to excel. I think any place in the secondary you need those. I think as a wide receiver, if you box out well, let's say in the NBA, that's certainly something that you need as a wide receiver. If you're a physical type wide receiver, that's what made some of the red zone guys so great in the NFL. But I think those are perhaps the only places we talk about where you can get away with that. Because if you want to talk about things like physicality and whatnot, these are two completely different sports. They're not even close. Now, that's not to say that NFL players won't have a hard time translating to the NBA. Obviously guys who are shooting at a clip like Steph Curry does, that's a world-renowned talent. I'm not sure many players in the NFL, if any, and I feel very confident in saying none of them can shoot at that same clip. But however, if we talk about, let's say, his comment where he said he can take 30 players right now in the NBA and throw them in the NFL, at what position? This is where I think JJ Watt makes a case. Offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers, right? I think even throw in running backs there. These are guys that are getting hit every play. Offensive linemen keep the quarterback clean. The defensive linemen try to sack the quarterback, right? These are head-to-head collisions happening every play. And I don't think this is being talked about, enough, because I feel like if you're somebody like Austin Rivers, you just look at the glamour of the NFL and the playmakers and whatnot. And, that's not what makes up football in its entirety. And I think people have been bringing up the examples like, oh, well, if you look at, the NBA, these guys flop all the time. They can't even handle contact. I think partially that's true. I think the other reason for that is they're definitely incentivized, right, with the rules and whatnot, where you can flop, expect a foul, and it's going to be beneficial to your team. Now, is that something that, I enjoy? No, I hate that for the sport. But is that something that's the harsh reality? It's like in the NFL where a quarterback kind of sells a roughing the passer call. It's just a part of the sport. It happens. But I think there is truth to that because we talk about the physical challenges, and I just don't think, you can even equivalate any part of the NBA or basketball to a sport like football where you're making contact on each play, especially when you're not a quarterback. And then if you want to talk about being a quarterback, right, that has its own struggles and challenges. Now, it's just like being a prolific shooter in the NBA. Like, how can you be so accurate on the run with pressure in your face consistently? It's one thing where I can throw the ball at a tailgate and, it's fine and dandy. But try that with, let's say 7 defensive linemen and linebackers, included, coming at you in a full-on blitz. Like, That is much harder to do. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up in terms of football is that strategically, it's so much more different compared to every other sport we talk about. Now, you can throw in boxing and whatever, and yeah, there's a lot you have to analyze before something even happens. But football is similar to that, where I think basketball is more on the fly. You know, basketball, you're hearing a bunch of plays being called from your coach. All right, you adjust on the fly. You know, an inbound pass, before that happens, you're calling out something. During a timeout, you're calling out something. But once again, a lot is happening on the fly. In football, there's stoppages between every play, okay? So as a quarterback, and most players in the NBA will not be able to do this, I can guarantee you that much. You have to hear everything that's coming in from the coach on your headset before 15 seconds if you're in the NFL. Then you have to relay that to your offensive linemen, to your wide receivers. Everything in that play call means something. You can't forget it, all right? So then everybody's set up, all right? Then you have to see how the defensive line is going to react, how the corners are reacting. Maybe you audible your wide receivers so you see if they're in man coverage, if they're in zone coverage, if they're in, you know, whatever disguise that they're trying to prevent you from seeing. And these are all the things you have to digest before a play even happens. And that's why football is beautiful. All right. So when a lot of people slander football for no reason, like Austin Rivers is, no one is going to be able to do that as well as football players do, okay? You know, you can call in NBA players and maybe they have great memory retention and whatever, but the amount that is digested before a play even happens is unparalleled to other sports. I'm sorry. So that's my no bullshit take. I'm sure a lot of people are going to hate this video and they're going to comment, you know, fuck off or whatever. But if you did like this video, give it a like, give it a comment, subscribe. I would love to have you at the Sideline Guru. This is Garv Aurora, and I'll see you in the next video.